With 5 weeks left until the start of the 2018-19 NBA regular season, many questions will await us. Whether LeBron James will lead the Lakers to the conference finals and win MVP, if Russell Westbrook will be good enough to lead OKC past the first round, or if the San Antonio Spurs' 21-year playoff run will come to an end. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. I would not consider any superstar in the NBA to be overrated. People can hate on guys like Kevin Durant and Steph Curry all they want, but in my opinion, they are easily top 5 players in the league without question. I personally rank them second and third. There's a bunch of players who makes the All-Star team every year, puts up pretty decent numbers, but come playoff time, always disappoints. Some of them don't even make the postseason. Here are 5 of the most overrated NBA All-Stars today, starting with Paul George. Many people consider PG to be a superstar because of his ability to play both ends of the floor, but in reality, one thing that's been lacking in his game is the killer instinct. OKC was supposed to be one of the best teams this past year and was supposed to even contend with Golden State. OKC finished 48-34, just a win better than the year without PG. While the Pacers traded him for Victor Oladipo, Indy was better off without their franchise small forward. With Russ, PG didn't need to be the number 1 scoring option. Averaged under 22 a game on 43% shooting. Didn't show up in Game 6 against Utah when his team needed him most. Shot a horrendous 2 of 16 from the field with just 5 points. Couldn't buy a basket in the clutch. Was supposed to be the second best player in the series, but was heavily outplayed by rookie Donovan Mitchell. Although he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, his inconsistency raises a huge concern, as he recently signed a 4-year $137 million contract extension with the Thunder. He's certainly worth a max, but paying him over $33 million a year seems too much. In an interview with Jalen Rose a couple months back, Kobe Bryant even said it takes a special type of person to want to play for the Lakers, and if you need convincing to come here, then you ain't the one to be it, as PG wanted to play with purple and gold since 2016, even publicly said he was gonna play for the Lakers, but maybe he didn't want to be in the spotlight or under LeBron's shadows. Where in OKC, there's not as much pressure, even if he doesn't win a championship. George was viewed as one of the up-and-coming stars with superstar potential after the 2013 postseason, but was part of that 2014 Pacers team that collapsed. Hasn't really improved since his leg injury in 2014. A lot of people focus on his monster performances. On nights he scores 35 points, but then the next night he gives you 10 points on 3 of 12 shooting. Due to many question marks, George is nowhere near the same level as superstars Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant. Clearly not a top 10 player, but a top 20 player in the discussion with the likes of Jimmy Butler and DeMar DeRozan. Which leads to the newly acquired San Antonio Spurs shooting guard. There were many conversations over the last 2 years whether DeRozan was an NBA superstar or not, but after many disappointing playoff failures over the last couple seasons, the 6'7" shooting guard is one of the most underachieved big-name players. Plays great in the regular season, averaged at least 23 a game over his last 3 seasons, but against LeBron James's Cavs in the playoffs, DeMar has heavily underperformed. Was even benched last season in the 4th quarter of Game 3 in crunch time. Very passive, lacks the toughness to will his team to win, just like Paul George. The 4-time All-Star is proving to be an excellent scorer, one of the best mid-range shooters, but not a good defender and a below-average 3-point shooter, 29% for his career. Didn't even make a single 3-pointer against Cleveland in the 2018 playoffs. Being the best player on a team, a win short of 60 games, a top 5 offense and a top 10 defense, with anything other than a finals appearance considered a failure, DeMar never took the next step to enhance his legacy. Was traded to the Spurs for Kawhi Leonard, upset about the Raptors franchise being unloyal, but if you know your team can't win with a certain guy you've been relying on as your go-to for years, why not get a better player in return, even if it means losing him after 1 season? On the 3rd year of his $137 million contract, DeRozan's worst nightmare will continue as he'll play LeBron's Lakers 4 more times before the year 2018 ends. While his ex-teammate Kyle Lowry will be entering his 13th season because he plays in the weak Eastern Conference, Lowry's somehow a 4-time All-Star. I personally think Mike Conley's a better player than Kyle, but will probably never make the All-Star team playing in the West. It's ridiculous Lowry seems to get in every year. Only averaged 16 points, 5.5 rebounds, 7 assists. Ben Simmons should have gotten in over him, no question. Made more All-Star teams than Damian Lillard, who gets snubbed a bunch of times, also a way better player than Lowry. One thing that bothers me watching the Raptors, Lowry constantly flops to draw fouls, gets away with calls. For people to say Lowry's a borderline superstar and is up there with one of the best point guards is totally absurd. He's also only averaged over 20 points once in his 6 years he's made the postseason. That was against the Nets in 2014, where his shot was blocked by Paul Pierce at the buzzer in Game 7, averaged 12 points the year after when 6-seeded Washington swept him. It bothers me a lot that the last couple years ESPN and Sports Illustrated, amongst other media outlets, has Lowry ranked higher than Kyrie Irving in their players' rankings. Now that's a travesty. Andre Drummond, the two-time All-Star, has been the best player on a below-average disappointing Pistons team over the last 4 seasons. Led the NBA in rebounds 2 of the last 3 years. Almost all his baskets come from lobs, finishing around the rim and on second opportunities off offensive rebounds. Even though he might put up dominant numbers, have some 20-20 games, excellent for fantasy basketball, his numbers are very deceiving. Can't be counted on late in games due to his awful free throw shooting. Even though he's improved from under 40% shooting to over 60 last season, doesn't make his teammates better, plays with no intensity, has no offensive skill, not a perimeter threat. Fired head coach Stan Van Gundy tried to make his former center the focal point of the offense, similar to what he did with Dwight Howard in Orlando, but Detroit's been a nightmare over the last 2 years, stuck in no man's land. Entering his 7th season, Drummond hasn't quite had a breakout year as anticipated, hasn't won a playoff game yet, with way too many flaws, doesn't work well with today's NBA, but he's still only 25 years old and still has plenty of time to develop. Just like him and Kyle Lowry, there's at least 5 players in the West who's never made the All-Star team that would have easily been voted in ahead of the 2 if they played in the East. Last but not least, DeMarcus Cousins. Coming off an Achilles injury, the 28-year-old center backstabbed his ex-teammate Anthony Davis, rejected a 2-year $40 million offer from the Pelicans to sign a 1-year $5.3 million deal with Golden State, one of the softest moves in NBA history. Yes, we know teams didn't offer Cousins a contract, and Golden State capitalized on others' mistakes, but New Orleans with Davis and Cousins were one of the teams that would have given Golden State problems, the team that eliminated them in the semis. The Pelicans actually had a better winning percentage without Cousins, going 21-13. Anthony Davis also played better, turning himself into a top 3 MVP candidate. We all know how talented Cousins is as a player, putting up incredible numbers, averaged 25.2 points, almost 13 rebounds, over 5 assists, hitting more than 2 threes a game before the injury, has yet to play in the postseason in 8 NBA seasons. The 4-time All-Star unfortunately will be remembered for his negative attitude and bad temper in Sacramento, was never close to making the playoffs with the Kings, finished 33-49 in 2016, his best record ever in Sacramento. Some teams even have a no Cousins policy, wouldn't even go near him. Despite his amazing basketball talents, who knows how good Boogie will be when he returns from that devastating injury. Even if he only plays 20 minutes a game, no other team even has the slightest chance of beating Golden State. With him in the lineup, Dub Nation simply will have no weaknesses in their starting 5. Just not fair for the rest of the NBA. My honorable mention goes to Blake Griffin, who hasn't been an All-Star since 2015, a career derailed by injuries. The 6'10" power forward averaged under 20 points, less than 7 rebounds in 25 games with the Pistons, where the team actually finished with a worse percentage after adding Blake. If you watch a lot of NBA, you barely ever see Griffin play above the rim anymore, lost plenty of his athleticism. Can you remember the last time he had a crazy dunk on somebody? I can't. Maybe 3 years ago. Has never attempted more than 2 threes per game until last season, where he shot over 5 of them. Settles for way too many outside jumpers now. The 29-year-old power forward, once looked at as somebody who can potentially be a top 3 player in the world, has slowed down drastically, will be on his 2nd year of his $173 million deal, will earn over $33 million next season. As of now, it seems like the Clippers made a genius choice in saving a ton of money by getting rid of Griffin. Once again, Paul George, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, Andre Drummond, and DeMarcus Cousins are the most overrated All-Stars in my opinion. Let me know who you guys think is the most overrated one. Thank you so much for watching this video. I talk NBA comparisons, amazing storylines, NBA history, and anything basketball that will interest you. If you love the NBA, subscribe to my channel. More great stuff coming soon. See you next time.